Hi, my name is Mary McCarley. I am the Health Education Content Specialist with Goodheart-Willcox and the co-author of their middle school health textbook. I was a teacher for 15 years in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, and now I provide professional development and training for our middle school and high school health education programs. So many teachers and district coordinators have reached out to us in need of middle school and high school digital health resources, and we've been more than happy to provide these resources for them at no charge, given the challenges we know you all are facing. I wanted to create this video to extend this offer to all teachers and all school districts in need of digital middle school and high school health resources at no charge. This presentation will focus on our middle school resources. And in this presentation, I will, number one, focus on an immediate solution. If you are in need of resources right now, I will provide you 10 skills-based assessments as a PDF that you can begin assigning to your students today. And number two, I will provide a long-term solution for those teachers and school districts who may remain out of school for the remainder of the school year. At no charge, we can set up a pilot for 90 days of full online access to all of our digital resources for students and teachers. And number three, I will describe the steps to access these resources. We have an amazing award-winning author team. Catherine Sanderson and Mark Zellman wrote the pages of the text, while Lindsay and I created the skills-based assessments. So first, an immediate solution. We know that many of you are in need of resources right now. As I mentioned earlier, we will provide 10 skills-based health assessments that you can print, email, or post to Google Classroom or your learning management system for students to access. The Building Your Skills assessments, as you can see here, are embedded in the pages of our textbook. We have created these as PDFs for you. In this assessment, The Power of Social Media to Inspire, students will create an inspiring social media post that encourages a healthy behavior. Here's another example. Take charge of your personal hygiene, where students will create SMART goals and chart their progress throughout the week. Several of our assessments already had additional worksheets, so we provided these to you as well, as you can see here. Here's another example, talking about mental health. In this assessment, students will talk with a trusted adult or parent and really have those valuable conversations on mental health. And in this assessment, being assertive, students will work with a partner, more than likely a sibling or a parent given their current situation, and practice the skill of assertive communication. We also wanted to include 2 Let's Talk assignments. And in these assignments, students will work with a parent or guardian or trusted adult to talk through the situations. And in this one, let's talk self-esteem and emotions. So in part 1, together they'll decide on a scenario, talk about it, what would you do, create a plan if you're ever in that situation, and the student is the one to write the paragraph. And in part 2, there's 4 discussion questions. They would only need to choose 2, talk about it, create a plan if you're ever in this situation, and kind of summarize what you guys talked about. And in Let's Talk Relationships, here's another example, similar format, really encouraging those valuable conversations. And lastly, we included 1 performance task, My Plate Meal Performance Task. And this is going to allow students to create a meal based on the guidelines of My Plate, and a rubric is included as well. So now for a long-term solution. We know that many of you may be out of school until the end of the school year. And at no charge, we want to provide you 90 days of full access to all of our digital resources for students and teachers. And these are the resources that you would have access to. First, our digital textbook and all the classroom tested activities and assessments that go with it. 2, the companion website, which is video clips, animations, interactive activities, assessments. Also, you'll have access to the student workbook with form fields And teachers will have access to the extensive online instructor resources. And I do want to point out that we integrate with learning management systems. We also roster, and teachers can post to Google Classroom. So first, I want to briefly describe our textbook. There's two versions. Comprehensive Health Skills for Middle School includes those last two chapters on sexual health, while Essential Health Skills for Middle School does not include those last two chapters. We are aligned to the National Health Education Standards, National Sexuality Education Standards, and many of your state standards as well. And we really wanted to create a skills-based experience for students. So as you can see in the pages of the book, there's so many opportunities for students to really practice these important health skills. And if you dive into a particular chapter, you'll see that every chapter begins with an essential question. There's also a video clip, and this is a good time to point out that our textbook is interactive and that students can click on this icon and go directly to the video. Also, there's a reading activity and a How Healthy Are You assessment. So once again, if you wanted students to complete this activity, they would just click on this icon and fill in the activity. And at that point in time, they could post to Google Classroom or your learning management system. Every lesson begins with learning outcomes. There's a graphic organizer. Once again, if students wanted to access this with form fields, they could click on this activity icon. And key terms. There are case studies embedded within the chapters. There's also building your skills assessments. Every lesson ends with those text-dependent questions, those 5 text-dependent questions. If you wanted students to answer these, they could just click on this activity icon, fill in the form fields, and submit to Google Classroom or email or print or your learning management system. Also, every lesson ends with a hands-on activity as well. At the end of every chapter, there's check your knowledge, use your vocabulary, think critically, and my favorite, developing your skills. And taking a closer look at developing your skills allows students to choose a particular health skill they want to practice, and there's a short assessment to go along with it. And if you are interested in our comprehensive version, it does include chapter 18 and 19 on sexual health, and this one is aligned to the National Sexuality Education Standards. So now I'm going to show you how to navigate our textbook. So when you log in, you will see this online platform unless you decide to integrate with a learning management system. The first you'll see is the student textbook, the companion website, the student workbook, and the final two will be only the teacher can access, which is the teacher's edition and the online instructor resources, and I'll review each one of these. So first I'm going to click on the textbook. Once I click on the textbook, I'm going to scroll down. You'll see that it's divided by unit and by chapter. Let's click on chapter 3. On the left-hand side, you'll see a navigation bar. I can zoom in, zoom out. I can go to another unit or chapter of the book, click again to close. Also, if I want to go directly to the companion website, I'll click here, click again to close, and students would have the option to print pages as well. Once again, anytime there's an activity icon, if I hover over it, I can click on it and go to this video. Note that we are on page 64. If the student wants to jump to another page of the text, they can do so and click. Also, they could go to the next page of the text by clicking the arrow. Lastly, they can search our text. So if they want to search it by human trafficking or nutrition facts, they can type in a key term and click, and it will go to the page that has that term on it. So I just want to point out, since we're in our digital textbook, that if I do click on this activity icon, it will take me to this assessment. And as a student, I can click in, scroll down, I can type directly into these form fields and set goals. And once I complete this assessment, all of our assessments can be saved in this way, and then I can right-click in the space off to the side. I can save it as a PDF. However, if you hit the print option, it does allow you to either print it. However, if a student changes the destination away from the printer, you'll see that they do have the option to save as a PDF or save to Google Drive. And once in their Google Drive, they can submit to Google Classroom. So all of our assessments can be saved that way. If you love Google Classroom and you want to post to Google Classroom, you can also copy and paste this link and add it as an assignment in Google Classroom. As long as students are already logged into our digital textbook, they will be able to access that link. So next we're going to move on to the companion website. So the companion website really is intended for students to review, assess, and to extend their knowledge. And here are some of the activities on our companion website. There are animations, labeling, vocabulary games, e-flashcards, and these are available in Spanish as well. There's lesson review questions, chapter review questions, and also self-assessment quizzes. So let's dive into our companion website. As I mentioned, you can access the companion website directly from the pages of the book. You can also access it here as well. I do want to point out that anytime you click the My Bookshelf tab, it takes you back to the main page, and you'll see here that I can click directly on the companion website and go to it. And once on the companion website, you'll see that there's an audio glossary, an English-Spanish glossary, and now there for chapter 1, there is a video, How Healthy Are You assessment, the graphic organizer, there's e-flashcards, they're available in Spanish. You'll see that there's several different vocabulary, interactive games, animation, and those lesson review questions. Don't forget, all of our assessments can be saved by right-clicking in the space off to the side. I strongly encourage you to explore these resources. So next, let's move on to the student workbook. Our student workbook is really intended for students to review, assess, and to extend their knowledge. I did write the entire workbook. It's skills-based, it's based on real-life application, and they're very engaging pages. Here are just two of my students' favorites. So now let's dive into the student workbook. So the third link down is going to take your students to the workbook. And then from there, you'll see that it's divided by unit and by chapters. By clicking on any particular chapter, you'll see that the familiar navigation bar comes up, allowing you to zoom in, zoom out, go to another unit or chapter, click again to close. Students can print. The fourth button down is going to allow students to see it with form fields. So now by clicking on that, I can see the entire workbook with form fields. So now if I click on a particular activity, you'll see that it will pop up with form fields, allowing students to type directly into the pages of the assessment. And upon completion, I would right-click in the space off to the side. They can save it as a PDF, but as I mentioned before, students always have the option to click print, and then from there, they can print it or they can change the destination away from the printer, save it as a PDF, or save to Google Drive. Now, don't forget that you do have the option to, if I wanted to copy and paste this link into Google Drive, I can copy and paste this link, add an assignment in Google Drive, and paste that link, and students would be able to access the workbook page as long as they're already signed into the book. So next we'll move on to what's available for teachers. So these are everything you need to help plan your course, your online course for students. So I'll go over to each one of these resources. You do have a teacher's edition. There are answer keys embedded within the margins, but there is another place to access these resources. We do post ongoing lesson updates. We recently posted one on vaping and the health effects. Also, you have very detailed lesson plans. We do provide these in Word format, so you can change them and add your own lesson ideas as well. Every chapter has a engaging activity to begin the chapter. Just read through these and make sure that they're appropriate to assign at home. Every lesson has a graphic organizer. Every lesson has a reading guide as well. These are available as a teacher as a hard copy. The hands-on activities and the building your skills activities are already in the pages of the book, but some of those worked well as a handout, so we wanted to provide these as handouts as well. Every lesson has a vocabulary worksheet. Every chapter has bingo. This could be quite challenging to play while facilitating a remote learning course, but if you wanted to use Zoom and have students play, it could be a lot of fun. Every chapter has a PowerPoint. These are divided by lessons. You can edit these, so you can delete some of my slides, add some of yours, change text, save it as your own. Every chapter has a parent engagement homework assignment to reinforce those valuable conversations that should be happening at home. Every chapter has a menu, and menus are a differentiated student-directed performance task. There are directions for the teacher, a rubric for grading, and then the actual menu to pass out to students. Since students will be learning at home and investigating these chapters at home, you may want to pass this out at the beginning of a chapter and allow students to do these along the way. So in the appetizer section, they only need to choose one, and these are going to reinforce vocabulary. The entrees will reinforce content, and they only need to choose one based on their interest level and also their learning style. The desserts will reinforce a particular skill, and in this case, refusal skills. So students will likely need to practice this with a sibling or a parent, and then they could record it as video documentation or evidence to the teacher. And lastly, every chapter has a performance task. There's always directions for the teacher, a rubric for grading, and then the actual performance task to pass out to students. And this one is differentiated using a choice board, so students could choose a product based on their learning style, but the requirements for all students are the same. And I do want to point out that teachers will have access to ExamView. ExamView allows you to create a test, a customized test. You can differentiate by easy, moderate, or difficult. However, you would only be able to provide this in print format unless you are integrating with a learning management system, and in that case, it would grade it as well. So now, teachers, I want to show you where to access these resources. So if we go back to our online platform, don't forget you can click My Bookshelf and it always takes you back. Scroll down and there is the Teacher's Edition, but I'm going to click on the last one, Online Instructor Resources. From there, scroll down, click Instructor Resources. Now you can see the content update lessons. I'm going to click minus to minimize. Navigating your resources just provides an overview of our resource. The resource material does provide some course planning guides. However, I do have additional course planning guides that divides our book by 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, or just by 7th and 8th grade. Also, we do have our correlation as well. I'm going to minimize that. Your chapter resources. By clicking on chapter resources, you can click on a particular chapter and you'll see your textbook answer keys, your workbook answer keys, your PowerPoint presentation. The one that says for PowerPoint is the one you can modify. And then looking at a particular lesson, every lesson has a lesson plan, and you'll see there's lots of different handouts and assessments that you can assign. And the last lesson of every chapter is where you're going to find that parent engagement homework assignment. And in the chapter review and assessment activities, bingo, the menus, and the performance tasks. So just by clicking on a performance task, you'll see the directions for the teacher and then the assignment to pass out to students. It does include a rubric as well, and also a grading scale. Lastly, I want to point out the last tab is the assessment software and question pools. If you have a Windows computer, you would need this file, or a Mac, you would need this file. If you are using a learning management system, these are your question bank files. And by downloading this, you would have access to create customized tests. So I hope this is helpful in giving an overview of our online platform and also what to expect if you do decide to sign up for that 90-day pilot. So how do you get access to these resources? So number one, just email me at mccarley@g-w.com. And when you email me, just let me know if you want the immediate resources or if you want me to set you up with a 90-day pilot. As soon as you email me, I will respond and get you set up right away. Once again, here's my email address below. And I truly appreciate your time. We are here to support you during these challenging times. If you are interested in high school resources, feel free to email me as well. However, I will be creating a video very soon to highlight these resources. Lastly, if your school district is currently reviewing health curriculum for an upcoming adoption, please reach out so I can send you our 2021 editions. We've not completed the online platform, but they are available in print to review. Have a wonderful day and stay healthy.